If you look up golf in Malaysia, it is very likely that one of the first few things that you are going to see is the name Royal Selangor Golf Club. Situated right in the center of Kuala Lumpur, this golf club has a total of 45 holes. Today, I'm taking you around the second 9U course, so I hope you guys enjoy today's golf vlog in the oldest golf club in Malaysia. So this 9 starts off with a pretty friendly hole, not very long, only playing 329 yards, but definitely has its own tricks to it. The green of this hole is pretty long and narrow, with quite a lot of undulation. Royal Selangor is known for its very tricky greens. One of the first few things that I would suggest is if you are playing here for the first time, definitely move up a tee box because it is going to play a lot longer than the numbers tell you. Because Royal Selangor is situated in Kuala Lumpur City, there's not much undulation, but because of that, you should definitely expect the fairways to be playing pretty soft. It is basically a drop and stop kind of fairway. The greens are going to depend, especially like I said before, there is quite a lot of undulation, so that does make the ball tend to bounce in weird directions if you have never played this course before and aren't aware of the slopes. So definitely pay more attention to the greens. Putting yourself in a good position on the greens is very important because you could be on the green and still give yourself a very difficult putt. Next up, we have hole 2, another par 4. This one definitely playing a lot longer, playing 402 yards. One of the things that you will realize playing out here in Royal Selangor is that it's a walking course, which is not very common out here in Malaysia, and they play it in yards. So definitely pay attention to that because about 90% of the golf courses in Malaysia play in meters. So if you are looking at yardage sticks out there in Royal Selangor, it is going to be in yards. For this tee shot, there is hazard down the left side, but playing from the blue tee box like you can tell here, I couldn't really get to that part, so I still have a pretty wide fairway. For my second shot, I had 156 yards. Generally, I find that on this hole, aiming towards the right side of the branch of the big tree behind the green is generally a good target. Although it looks like you should favor the right side, if you hit anywhere on the right side of the green, it actually kicks your ball further right and leaves you with a very difficult up and down. Even though I missed my approach shot on the left side of this green, it will usually stay up unless you really pull it or hook it. However, you can see here it's a pretty flat putt, not very difficult. Although you can't see it in this video, you definitely do not want to leave yourself on the right side of this green because, like I said, it's just very difficult to control speed, control distance if you're chipping, and it's just generally better to be approaching this putt or chip from the left side of this green. See this turtleback green just slopes both off to the left and to the right, so you have to be very careful here. This one can go all the way down there too. Next up, we have hole 3, which is a pretty difficult par 3, playing pretty long, 192 yards. Today the pin is kind of towards the middle back of this green. I generally find that on this green you're either going to have a tendency to hit it over or hit it short. What I mean by this, and you'll see this in the next clip when I'm putting, is that there is a little ridge in the center of the green. If you land it past that ridge, there is a good chance you're going to hit it over. But if you land it short, there's a good chance that it's not going to get up there. So like I mentioned just now, the ridge is right around where I'm going to fix the ball mark right here. If you hit it past that point, The green basically goes downhill from then onwards, so if you hit it there and land it there, there's a good chance that you could go over. However, if you hit it short of it like I did here, you can see that there was no chance of me going up. Like you could hear my playing partner say on the previous clip, it died, and I've seen that happen many times, so just be aware of that. If you're in between clubs, I would recommend hitting the shorter one to this position rather than hitting the longer one, because from the back it's not an easy chip either. At least from this position, you are still giving yourself a chance to putt. On the next hole, we have a pretty interesting par 5. I like this hole a lot because I feel like this is one of the holes that are accessible but challenging at the same time. You definitely can go for birdie, but if you make a birdie here, you still feel like it's a bonus and not like you had to make a birdie here. So yeah, it's definitely one of those par 5s that you feel good to make a birdie, but you're also okay walking away with par because you know that it's not an easy par 5, if that makes sense. So after a decent tee shot, basically you just want to avoid the left side of this fairway because there are bunkers surrounding the left side. But once you do, again for the second shot, there are a whole bunch of bunkers out there as well. So you either have to lay it up short of those bunkers or go over them. On most days, I lay up short of them, especially if I'm playing from this tee box because I can't go for the green from here. And even after laying up short of those bunkers, I have no more than a pitching wedge into the green, depending on the pin position. So I don't really find it beneficial to put those bunkers in play by trying to go over them. So I pretty much play safe for the second shot here. Like I said, I will generally have some kind of wedge into this green. Today, because the pin position is in front, I have a 58-degree wedge. On this green, distance control is very important. Maybe a little less today because those bunkers aren't in play, but if the pin is situated behind those bunkers, you obviously want to make sure that you carry those bunkers. However, past this green, it all goes downhill, so if you hit it too far, you're going to give yourself a pretty awkward chip as well. So making sure that you have good distance control on this hole is important so that you not only give yourself a birdie chance, but ensure that you at least walk away with a par. In addition to hitting the right portions of the green being very important here at Royal Selangor, another thing that I find kind of tricky is reading the greens because they have quite tricky green. So if you're not used to playing with grainy greens, you're definitely going to struggle out here if you're not used to them, and it might take you a few rounds to get used to them. I don't play here as often, so I do find it a little bit difficult to read the greens at times. So yeah, if you come out here and you struggle with reading lines, you're not the only one. Next up, we have hole 5, which is a par 4. This isn't a particularly long par 4, so if you do not like the looks of this par 4, you can definitely just hit something to be short of those bunkers down the left side. If you're a draw player, you can definitely see how this would not be very suitable to the eye, and you definitely have to be a little bit cautious of the right side as well because everything kicks further right and you could be blocked by those trees. Personally though, I still like to hit driver here and just favor the right side of this fairway. Of course, the benefit of hitting a driver is that you get to be just a tiny bit closer to the green. The further right you go, you're going to have a longer approach shot. However, like you can see here, I only have a 48-degree wedge. This green is kind of interesting. Basically, it is a bowl. My general rule of thumb for this hole is just to shoot the front yardage and then add a couple yards, and that's how far I try to carry the ball. From there, you can't really control what the green is going to do. I think you can kind of see the front part of the bowl from this view. I landed this just on the green and it still went past the pin. So it would obviously help to be hitting the approach shot from the fairway. However, I think if you give yourself an uphill putt on this hole, I think you're doing fine.
Oh, you lah, talk too loud. Drop. Yeah.
Here you can see a little view of the Twin Towers, but also you can see the previous green. You can see how the front of the green slopes so much downhill. So it's like a big bowl right towards the center of the green where the pin is today. The next hole is a par 5, pretty challenging par 5 in my opinion. For the tee shot, you likely can't hit a driver because there is a little drain riding through and it's like put in the perfect position that if you hit a driver good, you're gonna get caught in it. So yeah, it's definitely there just to catch people who are trying to be too aggressive on this hole. So for me, I'm just hitting a 3-wood, which is going to be enough to carry those bunkers, which is a safe play on this hole.
Wow. This is a new 3-wood. Oh,
Ta-da, there it is. Now you might walk up here and you might think, oh, I still have 50 yards to the drain that I was talking about previously. The next round here I'm going to try and hit a driver. Like I said, the fairways here are very soft. However, it is put right at the position where if you hit around the distance that I do, that drain is right about 250 yards. So there's nothing worse than hitting a good shot and ending up in a hazard. So I really don't think it's worth it. This is a 3-shot hole anyway. Hitting this green with a wedge itself is not easy, let alone trying to hit it with a wood. So I think that unless you can carry that drain, you should just play this as a 3-shot hole, take your medicine, hit it 1 shot at a time, and don't try to be too greedy. The pin position today is pretty difficult. This hole again has a very narrow green, a little bit of a bowl down the center of the green as well. And generally you have to play a draw into this hole because the hole is shaped from right to left. But yeah, I just wasn't very confident over this shot and I just tugged it a little bit. Definitely not what I was trying to do, but not the worst of results. Just that I wasn't very happy with how I executed that shot. The next hole that we have over here is a dogleg right. There is a bunker down the right side that I wouldn't really recommend trying to go over unless you are playing 1 tee box in front. Obviously also if you hit my distance. If you hit longer and you're going to easily carry the bunker, obviously go for it because that's going to shorten the hole a lot. Like you can see before, I was shooting the distance to carry the bunker. I knew that I would get close, but I didn't think that it was necessarily the smartest choice because there is definitely a lot more fairway down the left side, although that does make the hole a lot longer.
Go. Did you carry? Did you carry?
Not see it. So clearly by my reaction, I wasn't really trying to be that aggressive. However, it paid off this time. So I have a much shorter approach into this green. It was a little bit of a tricky one because the pin position today was in front. And like I said, these greens here are just very tricky. This is again another bowl type green, so you don't want to be too aggressive. There is a high chance if you hit it on the green, it's going to go over. I don't know if you can tell by the sound, but I caught that very thin, so I ended up leaving myself in not an ideal position. Here you can see the bowl that I was talking about, not an easy chip from here. Given that, like I said, even though you don't want to be too aggressive, you do need to be a little bit more aggressive than I was. Obviously, I hit a bad shot. However, I basically short-sighted myself here, so not ideal for this pin position. big sloping off to the right here, and then when the pin is back there, sloping off to the left and behind as well. Also in the front of the green, like if you land it over here, chances are you're gonna be at the back. Hole 8 and hole 9 is probably the two toughest holes on this 9. Not an easy way to finish it off. Over here, long par 3, 199 yards. Again, this is like a turtleback green, slopes both off to the right and left side. Definitely not an easy green to hit, especially with a 5-wood. Here you can very clearly see the slope that I was talking about. So one of the things I said in the beginning of this video is if it's one of your first few times playing here, you definitely want to move up a tee box. From the blues, this course is definitely very long. Not only are the fairways soft, like you can tell the greens are very difficult, and they're especially difficult to hit close, which is the biggest issue because then it makes it hard to get birdies. I'm not saying it's impossible, however, I'm just saying that I think you definitely need to be able to hit a certain distance to be able to play well off the blue tees here. I mean, at the end of the day, do you really want to play a round of golf where you're trying to hit perfect woods, 5 woods, 3 woods, hybrids into greens, and could potentially even hit perfect shots and still end up in a pretty bad position? Or would you rather just enjoy your game, which I think a lot of us would much rather enjoy our rounds, come back with a decent score, one that we can be happy about, by playing a course to a yardage where we can hit greens with irons, where we can hit mid-irons, maybe some hybrids, maybe some wedges. However, there should be a good balance. In my opinion, if there is more than one hole where you're having to hit a 3-wood into the green, or if you can't even reach the green, you probably need to move up a tee box. And I'm not trying to be rude here, I just think that golf would be so much more enjoyable that way, and I hate to see people suffering out on a golf course because they can't play a golf course the way it's meant to be played. Finally, we've reached hole 9 on the second new course. This is the prettiest but also the hardest hole on this course. It is playing a whooping 464 yards from this tee box. Additionally, today it was into the wind, so this is definitely a hole where I'm happy if I could walk away with a par because it's essentially a short par 5. What I thought was funny though was I was thinking about this hole, and what I think it's funny is sometimes we approach short par 5s and we think, oh, we need to make a birdie here. Whereas a short par 5 and a long par 4 could essentially be the same distance, but you will be happy to make a par on a long par 4, but disappointed if you make a par on a short par 5. It's amazing how golf is all about mindset. Holes like this and thoughts like this make me realize it's so important to just focus on one shot at a time. On a hole like this, I'm really just trying to hit good shots, give myself the best chance to make a par, and if I don't, then I don't. If I hit really good shots and I make a birdie, then that's a bonus. However, you cannot control the outcome, but you can control yourself. Putting unnecessary expectations on yourself never goes well. How often do you accidentally par a long par 4 or a difficult par 4? And how often do you screw up or miss what should be quote-unquote birdie holes? Focus on one shot at a time. Every hole is different. Every hole has its own challenges. That's what makes golf so fun and so exciting, and that's why we keep coming back for more. Thanks for watching and catch you guys next time.
Very far. Right. Very far.